Hi, welcome to the Expansion Show. This is Chez Wong. When the economy slows down, most SMEs do the same thing. They cut costs, play it safe, and just try to hold on until things get better. But this is what I found. Those SME or business that goes under during a downturn, they usually are not the worst one. They are just the one that they had no room left to change anything by the time they needed to. So today, I want to share with you about the 4 ideas that put together to illustrate and explain why some SME they make it through a downturn and others don't. So this is what I observed recently. Even they are not in that kind of the different on paper. So I'll share some of the example here. So actually, the thing here is playing safe doesn't actually means guaranteed survival. Most SME owners, they will be just safest to move in the downturn is to stop taking any new things entirely because of the budget and the uncertainty ahead, and also other fractions in terms of labor, skill, experience and whatnot. But waiting it out only works if the market comes back to exactly what it used to be. But if it doesn't, then the ground actually has shifted. Then we miss a chance, we miss the boat already. So the business will just froze and stay there and in the wrong way that when things are being settled. So there's bad things to happen. Hence, most people assume that survival comes down to one being good at what you're already doing. For the past 12 years, for the past many years, you are in the master of that doing one single products or services. Yeah, you work harder, cut deeper and hold the line. So this is what we have been doing for the past many years until the AI technology kicks in. So what I have observed is that the survival comes down to something else entirely. So whether you had any rooms left to try something different before you run out of time. Number one, it is having margin. It means slack, having a breathing room, not the stuff that you're actively using. So the stuff that you've been keeping in reserve, the cash you haven't spent, the time you haven't commit, the energy you haven't burned out. These are all the margins you don't spend. Sometimes we are talking about maybe you have margin of 30%, 20%, or even 40%, right? So these are the margin of error that you are going to use it when it's necessary. So this is what I observe. So sometimes tenants who sign the biggest unit, right, they could afford, right, in a good year. But when the bad time comes, they had zero rooms to downsize. They cannot negotiate. They cannot try anything new. Every money was already spent. So there's one case here, the YTL, right, the construction and the power company. So in the early days, like 1997, 1998 financial crisis, they built enough cash reserve and they had the debt very low that time. So when the financial crisis came, they didn't panic. They actually are buying aggressively. So that time they had around 5 billion ringgit in cash, just ready to go out and acquire any good business. So on the other hand, there's one company like Wu Hing Brothers. They are a watch retailer. So they are very debt driven. So they are borrow quite high because they expand into the property development. So right at the time, they cannot survive. So yeah, that is something that there's no margin. So other than that, Samantha, the Malaysia SME Association, recently there's a survey that they found 7 out of 10 SME today have less than 6 months of cash reserve. So there's not a lot of room to breathe if the things get tougher and tougher again from now ahead. Second one, the cost of trial and error. This is the flip side of margin, right? Every time you try something new, a product, a new market, a new service, a new experiment, a new way of running things, operation, as long as it's small things, smallest to until what you are currently are doing could be a different approach of serving your customers or customer feedback, investing in the small things like AI. So there's a real cost if it doesn't work. If you have margin, that cost is something that you can absorb. If you don't, every attempt feel like it's a final decision, it's a final bet that you cannot afford to lose. So you stop trying anything at all, and that's a trap. The business that with no room to fail, stop taking any risk or maybe manageable risk, any chance right when they need to be adapting to the most. So this the one company called Batik Boutique. Batik Boutique is in KL. When they locked down in 2020, the founder Amy, so have decided they pivot their directions. They get the sewing team making the face mask and PPE instead of Batik clothing only. That could fail miserably because it's not what they have been doing overall. But it became their best-selling product. They even end up sewing like over 12,000 pieces of PPE for the hospital in KL, and the order even came from like Dubai, Switzerland, from overseas. Today, they are making 7 million ringgit in revenue. So the they're looking back. Actually, they say if something like this happened out of the control, we have to pivot and pivot super quickly. Yes, they could have lost the money on that bet, but not doing anything at all is a total loss of the business, 100% during that time. Third thing, trying multiple directions at once. This is the margin actually get spent well. Yes, before the AI emerged, we were doing the things that only once at a time because the skill set matter most when we are looking for certain outsourced service and product of a particular companies that assist along the way. As soon as the AI comes introduced in 2021, the whole thing changed because most of the things can be assisted by AI. So instead of betting everything's on one big pivot, the SME that comes out stronger and tend to run several small experiments at once, a new product line, a new customer segments, a small test in different channel, a small trial and error in a small team. Most of this, if they don't work, that's fine because maybe let's say out of 10, you only need 1 or 2 to be very good to work. So there are 2 examples here. The first one, Kawan Food. The Kawan Food is a frozen food company. They are located in the Pulau Indah near Pokeng. So during the pandemic 2020, they already had multiple products: prata, spring roll, chapati, and multiple ways of selling, not just to restaurant but direct to consumer, B2C, and online too. So when the physical store like hotel, restaurants, they couldn't open and there's no order coming in, they stopped ordering the product from Kawan Food. That business side kind of the income dropped significantly. But because of the MCO, the online pickup, so all the orders in the online, they pick up the slack. The full year revenue that went up almost 19% to 254 million ringgit, and the profit doubled up. It's a very good example because the pivot. The second example is the PKT Logistics right here in the Shalam. So in the same time, 2020, they launched what they call transformation program. They split their business 50-50 between what they call recession prone and recession proof, led by Tato Mak. So we're not overly dependent on the automotive shipping side because it's also very cyclical. So that diversification helped push them past 1 billion ringgit in annual revenue. Number 4, finding your niche so that you don't get ousted or eliminated. That is the actual point of all of it, especially in the now time, the era of AI. A lot of things that I think we get assisted a lot by the AI, and some of the repetitive jobs like admin Excel file, you can actually just give a prompt in there and you just do it within 5 minutes instead of 2 hours or 4 hours. So we are not trying to do random things forever, but you're trying multiple things so that you can find that one specific space where you are not going to head with everyone else, your niche. So once you find that, you stop competing on price and survival. So you start competing on being the only one who does the things well, and that's what not easily get eliminated easily. So usually I saw the SME or business that get closed down in a bad time, they are usually the one that start in competing head to head with the volume big games. Like currently the Pinduoduo is coming in, and all the business get affected because the consumers will just definitely go direct to the big guy to order the quantities at a lower price because they even free the delivery fees on that perspective. But however, the one that who finds their niche, they will stop playing and that losing game entirely. So here is the case study, the Notion D-Tech. So they are a precision engineering firm in Selangor. Their whole niche is making a very precision machine parts, mainly for HDD, hard drive, camera, and car parts. So around 2015, the HDD industry, hard drive industry, it dropped. Instead of they keep going against harder in this market, they use their machine to diversify into camera and automotive parts. So when the COVID hits, right, they use the same skill to make the PPE using their current machine. So they invested 10 million ringgit into it. So in return, thankfully, they make over 30% margin on that line and got 6 million ringgit loss the year before they turned into a 10 million ringgit profit in just 6 months. That's very fast turnover. So today their revenue spread across 4 different areas. So they are not just only focusing on one. So no single shop can just remove them away in the market when the bad time comes. So that's what having a niche, they are quite flexible, able to protect what you are from. So in conclusion, where we started, playing safe, freezing, cutting, waiting, and just feel like a responsible move into a downturn. But it only works if nothing is actually changed. If the ground has just changed, standing still is a biggest risk over there. So to be honest, some of these companies, they are not small anymore, like PKT, Notion, Kawan Food, right? They are multi-million or even billion value company, but they all started as one. The same principle they hold at any size, even currently or even previously, before they grown. They keep enough margins to afford a new rounds of trial and error. Try things in more than one direction and use it to find the one niche when you are not fighting everyone else for the same shrinking pie. That's the difference between surviving a downturn and getting quietly be eliminated, where everyone else was too busy holding on tight to notice. So I hope you enjoy today's sharing, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.